Outside of that, we won't be on camera.
All right, guys, welcome into episode 4 of Three Men on the Record. We have a special guest today. Let's just introduce him. This is Jonny from Channel 910 from Whatnot, along with us. And we brought him in because, he's an expert on certain things. So, Jonny,
you said special guest, which made me wonder. I was like, where's the special one? But okay. But I appreciate that, Sean.
Usually that's Gonzo, the one we call special, but
Yeah.
You're the special guest panelist.
So, Jonny, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do on.
So I am Jonny. I'm half of a group known as Channel 910. My wife and I kind of head that up. We're located over here in Germany, actually. So we can get those hard to find European presses, and we take them over there to Whatnot, which is where I met these three gentlemen over on that platform. So love interacting with the vinyl community over on Whatnot. Glad to be here on this show on Three Men on the Record. Love talking music. Love nerding out over this stuff. So thanks to Scott and Sean and Jake for pushing out the invite and having me on. Like I said, we are in Germany, and that's why my other half is not on here, because she is sleeping, because it is 2 a.m. here. So but I do appreciate you guys having me on. So thank you very much. Looking forward to the discussion coming up here.
All right. So we have there is some breaking news today too that we want to bring to you, and we'll let Jonny talk about it.
No, I heard right before we came on here to kind of sound check and test our comms devices. Ace Frehley of Kiss passed away about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, at the age of 74. So for all you Kiss fans out there, if you haven't heard already, I hate to bring the news to you, but we talk music here. So Ace Frehley of Kiss, legendary guitarist, has passed away at the age of 74.
Yeah, I would say the original guitarist and the best guitarist for Kiss. I always liked his stuff.
Cool. So this is where we kind of talk about new acquisitions, some new releases. Anything you guys gotten this week that you're excited to share with us?
Well, I got some. I mentioned this, I think, on the first episode, but they finally came in. So I got some of my Rhino reserves showed up. Porno for Pyros.
Nice.
The Von Blondies. And
oh, yes.
Yes, 90125.
A little 90125 action.
And I got the notice that Warren Zevon Excitable Boy has shipped, so that's a good Rocktober from Rhino there.
I'm excited to hear what you think about that. Warren Zevon. Oh yeah, and to Stacy last week, she has a release that she got a Taylor Swift's debut RSD sealed, another big Taylor Swift one. So that Stacy was on last week. She just pointed out that she got that. Most of my stuff is supposed to officially releases tomorrow, and I'm very excited. It's all the Jaws variants that have come out. There's technically 5 Jaws variants that are coming out this week. We have a liquid filled one, we have a splattered vinyl one, and then there's Mondo has a deluxe version 3 different ones: black vinyl, the colored vinyl I got, and then I already got the gold vinyl, which was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And who's calling me at this time? All right, let me hang up my mother-in-law. I just hung up on my mother-in-law, but
how about that?
Oh well. What else? There was another one. Oh, Lord Huron's new album is coming out. I think it's Selector. I think that should be coming out this Friday. I'm waiting for that one, and I will be doing a listening party on that because I also got another one coming. So that's what I got coming, and then I also got this week. You guys know me and my Linda Ronstadts. This is Canciones de mi Padre.
Great album.
Record to get. What did you get, Gonzo? Besides the Oasis T-shirt.
This T-shirt is legendary. Thank you very much. Not a whole heck of a lot this week. I did open up and play a little bit today. My Rhino remaster of Rush 1991's Rush Roll the Bones. And so far, very impressed with the sound. I do have the 91 European original, and I'm going to be listening to that because I wanted to do a personal shootout just to really see which one sounds better. I think the Rhino is probably going to win the battle. But, man, I got to tell you, if anybody's interested in Rush, yeah, I know you're probably going to think of Self-Titled and Fly By Night and 2112 and Moving Pictures or even Permanent Waves prior to. Don't sleep on Roll the Bones. It is kind of a return to their, a lot of guitar sounds and kind of taking a lot of the synths away. So it's been a pleasurable experience just listening to it, listening to a really good remaster. I remember when I first got that album. So played that. I got it last week, but played it tonight. I just acquired, I might be moving this, but this is a very hard to get promo copy of the very best of the Sex Pistols. I'm very excited about this one. Kind of looked for it for a long time, and it's finally in my possession. So excited with that.
Now, does Jonny have anything?
Yeah. So flip through them real quick. Today was mail day, so I got a lot of stuff in today.
Mail day.
Additionally, I've got like stuff that I acquired kind of locally, stuff that I got through the mail, and just random whatnot stuff. So a friend of mine at work, one of my coworkers, he's been kind of the source of like turning me on to a lot of this stuff that was more popular in Europe than it was in the United States. And a group that I've, kind of started listening to a lot of is a group called Fisher Zed. And John Watts was the lead singer for Fisher Zed. So he snagged me one of his solo records. I've only listened to one side of this so far, but it has a very Fisher Zed sound. So looking forward to spinning that a little bit more. One that came in today, I was so excited to get this one. 1994 DGC Rarities Volume 1. There never was a Volume 2. Interscope just released this on this Coke bottle clear. One of my favorite compilations. It's got one of the best Counting Crows songs. Einstein on the Beach is on this album. Jamie from Weezer. A lot of cool B-sides. Rarities from groups like Nirvana's on there. Teenage Fan Club. Kraft Records. Jewel, Pieces of You. This is on this lavender purple double vinyl. Really cool album. It was one I didn't have in the collection until I just picked this one up. So took a while, but definite good ad. One of these sellers over on Whatnot, I grabbed this Garth Brooks record.
Nice.
So can't remember which seller it was. He's kind of annoying, but
Harry.
this.
Yeah.
Also got this one.
Oh, yeah, you got the Steel
Okay.
Panther.
So I'm glad this came in time for us to talk about it for the 500 best albums of all time. This is Steel Panther.
The rentals will be on there first.
And
Return
it's on
of
purple.
the Rentals.
Another one, and that one.
Go ahead, Jonny.
So the guy on Whatnot that's Shark Crossing vinyl, it's Sean, got both of those, and this one for the wife. The alternate Moondance.
Ooh.
Moondance, one of the best records ever made. And the alternate versions, like I said, just got it today. We haven't even put it on the table yet to listen to it. So looking forward to that one. And Whatnot is where you get deals. For those of you who are viewing right now that may not be shopping on Whatnot, you have to do it because the wife picked this one up for only 21 bones. Right? The brand, this is the Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like the pearlescent splatter, whatever version of this. She hasn't even cracked the seal on this yet. So little bit of variety of everything that I've picked up over about the last week or so. So Yeah, that's about it. Picking up some new stuff tomorrow too from our distributor.
Now-
So keep an eye out for us over on Whatnot. Maybe you'll see something new in the shop.
Now, did I hear with that Taylor Swift one, the one with it's got sparkles or whatever, that it doesn't sound the best? Has anyone heard that complaint? There's
Champagne bubbles pearlescent.
the rentals. There you go. It never was on vinyl, maybe for a good reason.
There is an unofficial out there, but
Is there anything out there that you guys just got or new releases that you're excited about? Type it in the chat, and let us know. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else for new releases other than I'm just excited for what I'm getting. Hey, Angela, how you doing?
For any of you Rob Zombie fans out there, he's releasing. It's up for pre-order. It doesn't come out till February, but he's got a new album that's going to drop in February. I know that I'm surrounded right now by a lot of Rob Zombie fans. So
oh yeah. Don't forget
please
the new
calm
Aerosmith,
yourselves
the
down.
new Aerosmith Youngblood. So there is titles coming out on the
That's right.
November 21st, Black Friday, I guess.
I forgot to mention one album that I did get recently, and that is the Rollins Band, Wait. With one of my favorite all-time songs,
I don't put Power
Liar.
drops tomorrow. So you have that. Someone asked how you guys feel about Rush touring also a few minutes ago. I think Rush, I think Chris is going, right? There's the point. There it is. The Mono Papyrus. Look who that's funny. Stacy ordered
The
we were just
Zoetrope.
talking about that before the show. It's a single Zoetrope with Rick Astley. And I like that. So yeah, you're right. You're right excited for the Aerosmith. It's an EP, so there's 4 songs on it. Which I guess is the new thing. Also tiny vinyl's coming. Woo. Heyo, Danny, how you doing? So I guess we're going to go over into the 500 essential albums. This is the fun part where we get to re-listen to records that we've maybe listened to 100 times, or maybe we haven't listened to it in a year. So Scott has one in his hand already, so let him start it off today.
Yeah. Hopefully we can have maybe the chat can help me with some discussion, because I don't think any of my friends here are that aware or familiar with this album, but it's always been one that I have had a lot of respect for. And this is Death Cab for Cutie, Narrow Stairs. So if you're not familiar with Death Cab for Cutie, they're a Bellingham, Washington band, kind of indie rock, indie pop, maybe a smidgen of emo. Ben Gibbard is kind of the leading force behind the band. He's been the one constant thing. But like a lot of artists, we talk about having I got an echo all of a sudden. A lot of artists having that 3-album mark. That's just amazing. Death Cab has that too. It started out with Transatlanticism, and then went into Plans, and then this one. This was their second major label release. It did reach number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200.
That one has Kath on it, correct?
Yeah, Kath is on this one.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And as you get older, a lot of times when you're younger, you discover music through your friends or the radio or whatever. But for this one, I was actually watching a great show, Friday Night Lights, and I heard this song playing in the background, and I was like, "What is that song?" And this, I think, was slightly before Shazam, so you can do that now. But so I hunted it down, and they said, "Oh, it's Bixby Canyon by Death Cab for Cutie." So I bought the CD and started listening to it. It's just an amazing record. It's a little bit of, I would say, from an emotional standpoint, a little bit of a maybe downer, but it has some hope in there, and the singles probably the biggest single is "I Will Possess Your Heart." You probably have heard that song. You just didn't know who it was. Kath was a single, and Grapevine Fires. And Grapevine Fires is one where I said, well, it's kind of a downer, but there's hope. it's about the great bonfires in California, and it starts out very explicit, explaining what's going on. And the guy's really a great lyricist to be able to paint a picture in just words. But as you get into the song, it really talks about essentially that something bad will visit us all, but from that something good will happen, and that's kind of I really like that song. But I don't know how many songs are on here, maybe 11. There's only one song on the whole record that I don't like. So if you want to try something a little bit different, this is probably what I would call best in class. And it is one of my favorite records. So Death Cab for Cutie, 2008, Narrow Stairs.
All right. Johnny, you want to go next?
Okay, sure. So if we're talking the 500 best albums ever made, I mean, you have to start the conversation off with David Hasselhoff. I'm kidding. So I picked this first one because I don't think anybody else here would have picked this. This is a little different from what you're going to typically see on this stream, on this podcast. But I wanted to go something a little heavier, something that was very influential to me as I was coming up specifically as a musician. And this is an album that changed music by creating a whole new genre. And that is a self-titled 1994 album, Korn. This definitely is an acquired taste. If you like stuff like Rage Against the Machine, stuff like Faith No More, yes, that kind of did come before Korn. But when this album dropped in 94, my 14-year-old brain could barely comprehend what I was listening to. From the very first track on this, Blind, which has kind of become the signature song for this band, all the way to the end, this is a very aggressive, very angsty album. So if that's, I know that, I'm wearing, the group of Love, I'm wearing their hoodie, but sometimes you just want to take your anger out. This album really does tap into that emotion. Like I said, it's an acquired taste. If you don't like heavy music, if you don't like stuff that's really in your face, probably not up your alley, but I implore you to give this a listen, cover to cover, and see if you don't get sucked in for at least a couple of these songs. For me, this is a top 10 album of all time. I definitely think it belongs on the list of 500. If you haven't listened to it or it's been a long time, take a listen or revisit it, and let me know what you think. I think it definitely deserves a spot on the list.
It's
did
on
you
the
meet
list.
your wife at a Korn concert?
So we met, yes, at a Korn concert, 96. We didn't go there together, but we did meet there together, and then 2 years later our paths crossed again, and that's when we really started to get to know each other. But I do remember the meetup. I was actually there. The funny story there is, not to go down a rabbit trail there, I was best friends with her brother before I ever knew her. And I was at the concert with the bros, and I was there with him. And she happened to be there with some other dude. So he didn't pan out, so that left room for me to make my move later. So,
Other guy.
Yes, it was a romance that was born of anger, I guess you could say. So, no, the album is great though.
So Johnny, genre new metal, was that?
So yes, I guess I did forget to tap into that. Nu metal is the genre that was kind of born out of this album. So if you like Linkin Park, if you like Evanescence, if you like System of a Down, all of those bands owe credit to this album 100%. Without this, you probably would not have those bands, or at least in the capacity that they are. So yeah, it may be a little rough. This is being their first album. Ross Robinson produced it. It was intentionally kind of harsh, but because of that, it birthed the entire genre. So, which also means it did birth Limp Bizkit. So I apologize for that, but it can't all be all hits. So
does that trail lead to Tool eventually? I mean, is that the same vein?
So Tool, I think, it's totally different genre in my mind. And Tool was already established by this point because Undertow came out 93.
Oh, okay.
So they were already getting radio airplay and doing their own thing. I consider them more like prog metal than new metal. So, but I listen to Tool too. So I guess the two can coexist in the same universe.
All right, Gonzo, why don't you go up next, sir?
I think my first album is going to be something from the early mid 70s, and that will be Robin Trower's 1974 opus Bridge of Sighs. This was Trower and Company's second album. Again, released March 5th, 1974. Fairly short album, at just a little over 38 minutes. But for those of you who aren't familiar with Robin Trower, he was the guitarist for Procol Harum, roughly around like 1967 to about 71. So the first 4 or 5 albums they did, he was on it and eventually left to kind of branch out and do his own thing. You know, Procol Harum is more, I guess you could say, more prog in a sense. And Robin Trower, for those that may be familiar or not familiar, he was more of a blues-influenced guitar player. And a lot of people always cited Robin Trower as England's Jimi Hendrix. Although Robin Trower did, cite Jimi Hendrix as an influence, but they both played, they both played Strats, and they both had that Strat sound. And I would say Trower is probably the closest thing to Jimmy, but the man plays, I mean, every note, every bend, every chord, it just bleeds soul. And it's got a lot of good hits on it. It has Day of the Eagle, which I think peaked initially like within the top 50 on the Billboard Hot 100. There's another song called Little Bit of Sympathy. But, the song, obviously, the two songs that I love that make the album really is Bridge of Sighs, and then also In This Place, which follows Bridge of Sighs. It's an album that I recommend anyone give a listen to because, in all honesty, man, when I first listened to this record, now, I was not born a Trower fan. I didn't get into Robin Trower until 2 years ago. And my story was when I first started selling on Whatnot, I was on a mission to get to 1,000 deals. I got probably about 60, 70 records. And I was doing a lot of low dollar starts, like $1, $2 starts. And I come along this Robin Trower record, and I'm like, who the hell's Robin Trower? Let's give it a listen. I put the needle on. Mine just went boosh. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I'm like, where the hell have I been? How have I not listened to this man? And so that led, after that, the first record I went and bought was Bridge of Sighs. And the only description I could give you on this record is that it is a journey from start to finish. It is not like a listening, I mean, it's a listening experience, but it's a damn journey, a journey through whatever you want to call it, whether it's a journey through time, just visualizing a journey through a desert or what. It's a journey of some sort, but it's a very moving album. It's got a ton of soul, and it's crazy because it was a gold record. It did sell 500,000 copies in the US. I think it sold maybe about 1 million copies in the UK. It did, like I said, it did peak at number 7 on the Billboard 200. But his guitar playing with James Dewar's bass playing and singing. Oh my God. It's some of the best blues I've probably ever heard, ever. And I'm a very big blues, and I know Joe's probably in here as well. Joe and I, very big blues enthusiasts. But there's nothing that quite sounds like this album, and I think it's definitely within top 500. And if you don't have it, pick it up. And if you can't find it, ask me. I will find it for you because it's that important of a record. So that is my first record.
Now, did it get a recent reissue?
Yes, I have the 50th anniversary remaster. Let's see if I've still got it up here.
Yeah, these are those artists you learn on Whatnot that you haven't really heard of. And
so I did a shootout between the 50th anniversary remaster and the 1974 original. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think the remaster sounds like crap. It's very airy. It sounds very distant to me. It's different takes. And then I listened to the original album. By far the original surpasses.
It's a pretty inexpensive record too, is it not?
Yeah, you can find it cheap.
It's $30. I think you could find the remaster for $30. You could find the 74 original. You can get a good strong VG Plus copy, $8 to $10. You can get a real clean copy probably for $20. So it's very affordable.
Yeah, so go look for that, and who knows? I'm sure Gonzo will find some more for you.
And it's a record. It's a record like that doesn't have to be your genre. I think everybody could appreciate that record right there. That's probably like best in class for that type of blues rock record.
It's just a very, I don't know. It's almost kind of a sense. It's like especially when you go from Bridge of Sighs into In This Place, it's got relaxing elements to it. I mean, it's just a very chill record that takes you on a ride.
Yeah, and you also pick up there's a Robin Trower live. It's really good, and give them a chance. I mean, it's something maybe you didn't really hear. I love learning about stuff I never heard of before, and this was one that until recently I didn't know about either. So my album, or one of my albums, is this album. Think of Perfection, and then a little bit higher. I don't know the best way to describe. I mean, so I've been watching so many different things or reading up on this record, and it is Steely Dan Asia. Came out in September of 1977. I was 4. And it's I've always heard Steely Dan and on the radio, and I never really focused on the whole record. And my wife really introduced this to me, and this is something I listen to regularly. I've had many different copies through the years. This one originally US was 5 million copies, worldwide was 7, and I'm sure since then it's probably tripled, quadrupled that number there. It was produced by Gary Katz. This is right after they decided, we're done. We don't want to tour anymore. They were getting burnt out. So they kind of decided we're done. Their band kind of they basically left the band. The band wanted to still go do things, and it was just them two. And they brought in session musician after session musician on there. There's at least 3 different drummers on this album. There was a certain sound they had in their mind, and they'd bring in a guitarist, and they'd try. If he didn't get it, they'd get another one. I mean, they just perfection above. They were interviewing one of the guys that was in there. He said, well, in the first half of the day, they worked like 6 hours. 3 hours in the morning, they would practice, jam, and in the afternoon, they would get serious. He said, we'd play till it's perfect, and then we'd go even further than that. And both of those guys in that band, it's just unbelievable the effort they put into this. And what Peg was number 24 in the top 100. Deacon Blues, I love that song. I peaked at 19. The album peaked at number 3 in the top 200 albums. And also, there's a rumor, and I've been spreading this rumor too, is I was always saying Phil Hartman did not do this cover. For some reason, the folklore out there is that he did. This was not one he did. He did many album covers, but not this one. I can't say. There's just so much stuff. It won the Grammy Award for Best Engineering because they just, due to copyrights, they cannot play. That's right. And also, don't call this yacht rock. Do not.
They're within the category.
He'll come down to your house, ring your doorbell, and smack you in the face.
They are within the category.
This is not yacht rock. But even Michael McDonald's on this. Also, the drummer. What is the drummer's gets? The guy that did 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover is on this as a drummer. And I don't just, if you don't have this, what's going on?
Well, I always think about that album because they brought in like Larry Carlton on guitar. They brought in so many heavyweight people on every instrument.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a perfect record to do that, all like the Moon Dance that Jonny showed, alternative. Like, give us one with different guitars or somebody playing the drums. That would be awesome to hear what they rejected, which I'm sure was great.
Yeah.
They hired and fired everyone. Yacht rock.
Yeah, there's a, I don't know if you've watched, there's a yacht rock documentary on, and they cover Steely Dan a little bit. Michael McDonald talks about it because Michael McDonald's on this album. He was kind of part of the band at some point. But they, at the end of the documentary, there's a little clip at the end in the credits, and you have to watch it. They call up Donald Fagen and they say, hey, we're doing this documentary on yacht rock. And Donald Fagen's like, excuse me, on what? And he said, yeah, we're doing a documentary on yacht rock. And would you like, and then he just, the words I'm gonna censor it a little bit. He basically said, go F yourself, and hung up on them because he does not like the term yacht rock. And it's really, for me, it's like, it's just a great term. It's not like a discouraging, but for him, it's, how dare you call it yacht rock?
But see, here's the thing. What's wrong with
rock, it's everything.
Right? Toto was on everything during that time, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure Toto was on pretty much every record. At least one member. I think there were over 5,000 songs. So I wouldn't be surprised because Toto was more of a session band. They were session players for quite a while until they formed Toto. So they could even be on this record. I'm not sure. The list is so long. But there was even one was there was the bassist, I forgot his name, and Donald Fagen and them wanted him to play a certain way. He didn't want him tapping the strings. When they play bass, they'll tap. They're like, we don't want that. And but they want a certain sound, and the guy knew the only way he was going to do that is by tapping. So he put up like a little wall around himself to kind of isolate himself, and he did the tapping, and they loved it. So it's just crazy. So
Steve Gadd drummed on it, right?
Yes, and he's the one who did 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
It's
a very unique drum on that song. So if you can watch the documentary, it's a very simple. It's just kind of the mixing of the album, and it's on. Just search Asia on Amazon Prime, and it's a great little documentary on that. So make sure you buy it.
Yeah, great record.
Amazing.
Anything with Michael McDonald on, it's going to be great.
All right, so I guess we're back to Scott now on.
All right, well, we're going to have back-to-back kind of obvious ones that people aren't surprised that they showed up on the list, but hey, we got to get to them at some point. And I think I said on the last episode a couple things. This is my favorite record of all time.
It's up there.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And they asked, what was your favorite song on the last episode? Chad asked that, and I said, Go Your Own Way. Even have the little sound file that my wife bought me for Christmas. And you can tell by looking at the file, this is the remastered version, right, Johnny?
Because it's a wall right there, isn't it? Kind of.
Well, it's not brick walled, but it's higher than it would have been on the OG. Put it that way. So
It looks kind of compressed to me.
yeah,
But that is cool.
but yeah, it's so yeah, I think this might be the greatest breakup relationship album ever. And so it sold a few 20 million in the US, 40 million worldwide. I heard the guy from Rhino on another podcast say that their number one selling artist this past year was Fleetwood Mac. So, here we are 50 years later, and it's still going strong. Like Fleetwood Mac had some great albums. There's no doubt about that. But, none of their other stuff sales wise compared to this had 4 top 10 Billboard Hot 100. So Go Your Own Way, that was number 10. Dreams was a number 1 song, probably not surprising. Don't Stop was number 3. And You Make Lovin' Fun was number 9. So a record that produces 4 top 10s. It won the Grammy for Album of the Year 2003. It was inducted to the Grammy. The album was inducted to the Grammy Hall of Fame. None of that's surprising. The thing about it is, the producers like credited to Ken Calais and Richard Dashett, but let's be real, the magic on this record is Lindsey Buckingham. He was a studio nut and put every ounce of everything into making these songs sound so great. Even Stevie Nicks' Dreams, she's not somebody who writes a lot of elaborate music. She writes lyrics, has a basic melody in her head. So, he's the one that put all that sound behind that record. So, and of course, Go Your Own Way. This is a great song. And I said, last week, I said, I don't know that Lindsey's completely fair to Stevie on that song, but it's how he felt. And, you can be a little raw sometimes in the moment of the breakup. And I think that song lives in that moment. And there's probably many people that felt that way at the breakup of a relationship. But, John McVie, the bass player, and Christine McVie, the songwriter, keyboardist, they were going through a divorce. She had a new boyfriend, and they were all on drugs. So that didn't help anything. So the band was, from an emotional standpoint, practically dysfunctional, but it produced one of the most amazing records ever. I'm sure most of you do have this record. There's album cuts on here that are known like singles, like Gold Dust Woman, not a single. Songbirds on here, The Chain, and Secondhand News. So the album never gets old. I know people say, I don't want to hear Rumors anymore. I've been listening to this record my whole life, and I never feel that. I will always listen to it. When it comes on, I get excited to hear it. So added to the 500, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors.
And it's amazing how on a daily basis I get asked, do you have Rumors? I mean, it's got to be selling more every year than it did the first time it came out, it seems. It's just blows my mind because it's constant. I'm getting asked for it. All right. I guess, Johnny, you are next.
Johnny Utah.
I have to say, Never Going Back Again, probably my favorite track off Rumors.
And I didn't even mention that. Yes, yeah. Great song. Thank you, Johnny.
Fantastic guitar work on that song. I'm going to go back because I was reading the chat earlier and I saw, I've got to defend Korn a little bit. I saw Stacy talking about whiny. If you don't like whiny Jonathan Davis, who is the singer for Korn, the first album is not whiny. That really kind of starts with the second album. The first album is very aggressive. So if you don't like whiny, go with the first album. Or the next one I'm going to talk about, also from 1994. And I will say, too, the wall behind me, these are all the things that I couldn't talk about today because I only have 3 to talk about. There's a lot of stuff on this wall from 1994. If ever somebody wants to debate what the greatest year in music was,
94 was a good one.
It's 94. Because this next one, 94 grunge was still kind of like the big dog on the block, right? Oh, yeah. And there were really 4 big grunge bands. Of course, you had Nirvana, you had Pearl Jam, you had Alice in Chains, but who I think was the best of the grunge bands and what I think was the best of their albums
Let's
is
go, Darren
Soundgarden,
Camp.
Yeah,
Super
great album.
Unknown.
Great album.
This album, you talk about melting your face. Fantastic record, cover to cover. This is the one preparing for this show. I was like, I want to go back and re-listen to this again, and it absolutely cemented my thought of nominating this for the list. Super Unknown. It's a long album. I think it's over 70 minutes, cover to cover.
Wow.
But it is jam-packed 70 minutes of just pure grunge goodness. And I say grunge, but this album kind of mixes that early like Sabbath type of heavy metal, doom metal, along with grunge, along with more of like a pop alternative feel, psychedelia. It explores a lot of different time signatures and alternate tunings. It's a musician's dream, which is why I think I liked Soundgarden more than some of the other grunge bands. They're not as straightforward. They're very intricate with what they do. This album, when I was researching this a little bit, this was when the members of Soundgarden more or less wrote on their own and then came into the studio to put it all together, as opposed to writing all together for the previous albums. So I, this also mentioned, Scott, you said about last week when somebody, and see, I'll, a little pull back the curtain a little bit. I watch all these episodes, but I usually have to watch them after I watch the playback because of the time difference over here in Germany. So I was watching the playback from last week, and the question came up of what's your favorite rock song? And immediately, it was almost like the meme of DiCaprio when he's pointing to the TV. I'm pointing at my computer like it's Black Hole Sun. There's no other song. It's got to be Black Hole Sun. It was the first song that came to my mind because it combines that hard rock, that grunge, and the psychedelic sound all together with what is probably the single greatest male voice of the 90s, hands down. Chris Cornell could sing. And this album is a great representation of a band at the peak of their powers. Super Unknown by Soundgarden. I don't have all the nerd information in front of me. I know it was a top-selling platinum #1 album, had all the singles. Black Hole Sun, I think, was on MTV more than any other video I saw in 1994. So if you Spoon Man was everywhere too. I mean, just the songs that came off this: My Wave, Fell on Black Days, Black Hole Sun, Spoon Man, The Day I Tried to Live. These are just the singles, and it is completely just slam full of just killer tracks. So if you are not familiar with this album, by all means, grab a copy of this. I don't care if it's on CD, if it's on vinyl. Just listen to it and enjoy it. Crank it up. Super Unknown from Soundgarden, 1994.
All right.
Well, Johnny, I got some feedback for you. Okay. Chris Cornell, best singer of that era. Completely agree. Great voice.
One of the greatest voices ever.
Well, I'll take it. I was wondering what song you were going to say, and you said Black Hole Sun. For me, my favorite grunge song of all time is Fell on Black Days.
That is mine as well, one of.
Yeah. Just chock full of great songs.
Absolutely
that's
a great
album.
choice. I think the only reason I choose Black Hole Sun as the song is it starts off with this really like psychedelic melodic guitar line, goes right into Chris's vocals. You have these very abstract lyrics, but it rocks. And you have a Kim Thayil solo, and you have an odd time signature. It's just, to me, hands down, it's just a great song, the best rock song.
Yeah.
All right.
Very easy to add that one to the 500.
Oh yeah. Jake,
I still
are up.
regret the fact that I sold my US original copy. That was the first album I bought when I started collecting again. The first album I bought in my collection was Super Unknown and held that thing. I bought it in 2001 and held it until I think 4 or 5 months ago when I finally sold it to a buddy of mine who had just been looking for such a clean copy. It's so good.
Well, truth be told, I know you're an OG guy. I don't have a lot of 90s OG presses because they're so expensive.
Yes.
I made sure that I would have an OG copy of this. And that's why this one looks a little worn. But it's one of those I'm like, I will spend the extra money. I will put this in the collection because it's that important to me.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, sticking with 1994, because I do agree with Jonny. I think 94 was a phenomenal year for music. And we've had many. 1991 was a huge year. 86, 87, huge year. 75, huge year. 71, huge year. I mean, we could debate years, but 94 definitely is one that's in the books, probably for best year of music during that genre. And I'm going to piggyback on Johnny's bringing up Soundgarden Super Unknown, and I'm going to bring an album that sold 6 million copies in the U.S. alone. Believe it or not, in their motherland, right, in UK, they were not received as well as they were in the States, which is a shame. Because I will say Gavin Rossdale, Nigel Paulsford and company of Bush, 16 Stone, released December 13th, 1994. This is a 1994 U.S. original press that I've had in my possession for 22 years.
This is not.
And this album, let's just talk about the singles for a second. You've got Everything Zen, which peaked at number 14. You've got Little Things, which peaked at number 7. You've got Come Down, which peaked at number 1. You've got Machine Head, which peaked at number 2. We're not even talking about Glycerin. We're not even talking about Alien. We're not talking about, Monkey or Testosterone or any of the other hits. This whole album from start to finish is unbelievable. If you want distortion, this is the record that has it. And what's crazy about it is, for me, I remember when I first bought my 5-disc CD player, I worked my tail off to buy that thing. And I went to Sears at the mall in Beaumont, Texas, spent $250, which was a fortune for a 15-year-old kid. And the first CD that I put in that player was Soundgarden Super Unknown. But the one CD that stayed in that player until it broke was Bush 16 Stone. I saw them at the Rock Fest outside of Dallas in 1997. It was one of the greatest events I think I've ever been to. The closest thing to a Woodstock that I myself could experience, because I think the Rock Fest, initially they did, I think, sell tickets, but then it just became a free-for-all, and everybody showed up at the race park. There were over, I think, 250,000 people over a weekend span. And I was there, and it did rain, and Bush was unbelievable. This album, at least for me, you talk about sentimental value and what it means to me and my childhood in high school. Like, yes, if we had to go into, if there were roller rinks going on in this time, believe you me, I would be there skating with somebody
to Glycerin
to this damn album.
I'll skate with you.
And there are a few notes, obviously, that I wanted to kind of make a note. What was crazy about the record when it came out is it had mixed reviews. I think people in UK really didn't like the record. I think in the UK it might have sold 1 million copies, if that. But the US is really where it changed. But this album, probably in my opinion, has to go or be talked about with probably one of the greatest debut records of all time. You could put 16 Stone with Oasis definitely maybe. You could put it there with, some of those 90 classics, and even, artists, prior to. I mean, we could go on and on. But, this to me, this record really was a turning point from grunge to alternative. And I think that's really when this record came out. I think that's when we really started to see the turn going from the grunge movement into more alternative into your mid-late 90s. I'm trying to think of any other.
That's something very profound you said there, Jake, because we talked about this album, but we gave it a very quick clearance because, oh, yeah, absolutely. But you said, like, where grunge starts transitioning to alternative. When I think about this record and I think, is it really grunge? I'm like, it's got a thin layer of grunge on it, but at the heart
Everything's in is totally a grunge song.
But when you kind of go into everything else, it's sprinkled with a little bit of it, right?
Yeah,
it's not grunge elements, but you can kind of see where that album is going. Because by the time they came out in '96 with Razorblade Suitcase, it was a more kind of toned down, but more deep album compared to, to 16 Stone. So I think, and this is my opinion, but I feel like Bush was really one of the first bands to kind of turn it more towards that alternative realm. There were other bands that were in the thick of it, but I think the success of 16 Stone and that album was on, it was on constant play on the radio stations nonstop. You couldn't not hear it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta, if you got a recording contract, it's your debut album. What's hot? Grunge is hot. So everybody had to sound a little grunge at that time or have some elements. But when I just listen to little things, I'm like, okay, that's Bush. That's their sound.
The whole record. Yeah. The whole album start to finish. I don't think there's really a bad song on it. And we had talked about this, right? Like, really, what is it that defines an album? A great album, a top 500 album. And I think we said, usually it's going to have at least a minimum of 4 solid songs that are all going to chart probably within like the top 40, give or take. Yeah. But this has at least 6. And granted, the alternative, scene really wasn't for everybody. All of us, I'm 47. Johnny's a couple years younger than I. So us in our mid to late 40s, like this was the movement of the 90s. This is where we were going. Mm-hmm. So, it impacted, and I can't agree more with Johnny. 94 was a pinnacle year and kind of a year of change, right? Because we started to see, like he mentioned, Korn, right? You got this new metal going for, more of the typical heavy metal of the 80s and early 90s. It's still kind of in line with the alternative movement, right? It was a change. And that's why I kind of have this, obviously, as one of my top 500 albums.
All right.
Yeah. When grunge came along, I felt like it burned very bright, very hot for a short period of time, but it had to go someplace else. It couldn't stay there. Mm-mm. So,
some people may consider and say, well, look, alternative is grunge. It's just a variant. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it, but again, like I said, I think this album was a turning point to a different direction, a more defined, more refined sound.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's my turn. So my album, this album here, I consider it a very underrated album. If you really look at it, there's really any like singles. There's no giant hit on this record. The US really didn't release any real singles from this album. It was only released in Australia, New Zealand, and Brazil. And the song peaked at 15 in New Zealand. And I'm talking about the song Country Comfort, which is on probably the most underrated Elton John album, Tumbleweed Connection. My wife loves this album. And that's why I had to get a new copy on green vinyl. Because most used Elton Johns are pretty beat up. This sold, I think, 1 million in the US and 3 million worldwide. It peaked at number 5 in the Billboard 200. But there's no real big hit on this. It's just everything goes together. It's themed, kind of, it's Western Americana kind of, but it's really based off of the band and the Big Pink. That's kind of how they got inspired on this album. So it wasn't like they had never been in the U.S. before, and here they are singing kind of about the Wild West. But the songs are great throughout. Country and Comfort was probably the biggest song on this album. This let's see. And on its 50th, this is a Sheffield Park railway station in Sussex, England. On the 50th anniversary of this album, they remodeled the railroad station to commemorate the album. You ever heard of a railroad station being renovated and brought back to new because of an album? How weird is that? It's just crazy. But again, it's probably one of the most overlooked Elton John albums because there's no big hit. You're not Crocodile Rocking or anything like this. This was his third album. The only thing that drives me nuts if you look at the original one, you see Dick James's name on the bottom of that record. And if you're a Beatles fan, you know how you feel about him.
Yeah. Sean, I think, we talked about, Elton John, and I don't think this is the last Elton John record. And
oh God,
he certainly had a release of records there. And, between Tumbleweed and Madman and Honky, that was a great run. And I think we picked it because it's like what everybody thinks about Elton John. You should listen to that album. That's more like before he became the caricature that is Elton John. He was the artist on these earlier albums.
Yeah, because it was 1970. This was his third album, I think.
Yeah.
Between his self-titled and I forget the other one, but yeah, it's definitely one that most people don't even think of. And some people think this is the best one. I mean, some people like the Super Poppy. This is just a great, this is bad for digital downloads. Everyone listens to one song on an album. This was definitely meant to be listened to in its entirety, and it all ties into each other. So you can just listen to it and not hit next because it's just that great.
Yeah, and Joe made the comment. He said, "This is the only Elton John I need," and you see that when you look around at people's opinions on Elton John. There's a lot of people feel very strong about that album. And when Jake and I were looking at the list for this week, I think that kind of stood out to us like, hey, we might catch some people by surprise on this one, but it is the people that love that album, they're hardcore in love with that album. So we thought we'd put it out there as the first Elton John.
Yeah, because I think when Rolling Stones did it, it was like 458 or something. So it's barely in their top 500, but it should be in your collection, I think.
Yep.
All right, so we're going back around to Scott, right?
Before we go to Scott, real quick correction. On the Bush album that I have, that is a 96 U.S. original. It originally came out in 94 in Europe. Mine was a 96 U.S. original, which technically would be a reissue. Wanted to correct that in case anybody comes in and says wrong.
Dick James. So someone asked Dick James ? He is Northern Songs. He is the one that didn't sell the music rights of the Beatles to Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
He's also, if you've seen the Elton John movie, he's the one that was screwing Elton John over and with money and all that stuff too. So
I mean, it's in his first name, right?
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Look at that observation skill by Johnny.
I know, right?
All right. Is it me, Sean?
It is.
Okay. Well, I like to break the paradigm that I'm the classic rock guy because I sell classic rock all the time on Whatnot. Hey, Japanese press, that's kind of what it comes in. I love classic rock though, but I think my listening habits are much broader than that. So this week's kind of surprise you album, if you weren't surprised about Death Cab for Cutie, is going to be, I love this Amy Winehouse album, Back to Black. 2006, came out in the fall of 2006. Sells 2 million in the US, 16 million worldwide. Jake, one of these things does not look like the other.
Don't have Amy.
I'm going to do a dollar start. Maybe you can buy it.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't have this album, I know for a fact that Sean just got 3 sealed copies of it. He's holding one of them up.
He could start it for $1. I'm in.
Yeah, and I'm there to build you up. All right. Let's talk about this album. Why do I like this album? Well, first of all, probably something that many people don't know. I love old school R&B and soul. Like Motown, Memphis, love it, love it, love it. Have a lot of albums there. You know, my favorite Elvis record is Elvis in Memphis. I just love the Memphis sound. Maybe a little bit more than I like the Motown, because I think the Memphis stuff was recorded a little bit better than the Motown. But it has that feel. So it's I would class it as neo soul. It's a throwback. It's a Dusty Springfield sounding kind of record. If there wasn't people policing what you could do in the 60s as far as what you say on records. Like I said last week, Lana Del Rey is kind of compared to Taylor Swift in the way that Lana's a little rougher. The language is a little tougher. You know, she lays it out a little more brutally. Same is true with Amy Winehouse. You know, it's clear if you listen to this record, she was entangled with some gentleman who was otherwise dating or married to somebody else. Like half the songs are about that. And of course the big hit Rehab, I would say it's a good song, and it was definitely the single kind of rocketed her into prominence, but I think it's a mid-pack as far as best songs on the album. My favorite song on the album is a song called Back to Black. Just an amazing relationship song. Me and Mr. Jones. It is a take on the Simon and Garfunkel song. Just Friends. That's another about this illicit relationship she was having. Love is a Losing Game. Tears Dry on Their Own. Wake Up Alone. So she was definitely not in a good spot. Probably led to the rehab trip song. But as far as a classic pop R&B record, this is amazing. My one complaint about it is I wish people would quit recording neo soul albums, like I can think of Coming Home by Leon Bridges. You don't have to sound like it was recorded in the 60s. The mic does not have to overmodulate. Just record it like it's modern with that sound. So I think the recording of this record leaves a lot to be desired. It's not the mix, it's the recording. But it's still so good, it overcomes that. So Amy Winehouse, 2006. If you like traditional R&B or soul or neo soul, well, regardless of what you like, you should give this record at least one chance. Listen to it. It's amazing.
All right. So Johnny's up next. And what do you think he's going to talk about, guys? What do you think he's going to talk
last one?
about? His last one. What do you think it's going to be? I haven't even looked, and I think I know what it is.
So
I mean, let's see. I have an idea.
I haven't
and
looked.
it's probably
I didn't
going to be
look at
number
his
2.
where his name is.
I think I can intuit it.
It's it is one record, but I don't know. I have about 20, 25, 26, 27 copies of it right here. This not only is my final suggestion for the list of 500. This is my favorite album of all time. And yeah, this is probably going to invoke quite the discussion here, because this is one of those albums like Dark Side of the Moon or Zeppelin 4 that's like it's an iconic piece of history, of music history. The Beatles are a tough one because everyone has their favorite, and I can't say any of them are wrong. But I will defend this one violently if necessary as the greatest Beatles album ever put to tape. This is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is the 1967 studio masterpiece. The Beatles had come off of touring. They were spending a lot more time in the studio. I will say, and this is, I guess I'll segue into this part of it. The reason that this album resonates with me so greatly is this album, and literally the one that I'm holding right here, this red capital label US pressing. This is the record that I sat with in front of a turntable at the tender age of 7 years old and almost wore the grooves out. This individual piece of plastic in a cardboard sleeve is what turned me on to music in general. Fell in love with this album, with this group, and wanted to know more about this thing that they call music. And that has led to far too many copies of the same record over and over again in many different varieties. If you haven't heard this album, I don't know what rock you've been living under. This is considered the first one of the first concept albums, if not the first. This is when the Beatles, like I said, went from being a live touring band to working on their mastery in the studio. This album at the time was the most expensive album ever made. It took an exasperatingly long amount of time compared to the other. The Beatles were pumping out sometimes 4 albums in a year, and they seemed to be unstoppable. And then when they went in the studio for Sgt. Pepper, people started to think that this was it. Where'd they go? What happened to them? And then they came out with a masterpiece, just brilliant from cover to cover. The only thing that would make this album better, in my opinion, is if they would have included the double A side that was recorded during these sessions of Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. You put those 2 songs on this record, I don't care what Jake says.
Hold
Nothing
up
compares.
here. So I totally am blindsided by that, and I'm glad that you mentioned it because pre-show when we went into depth a discussion, I will agree with you right now that if those 2 songs were on Pepper, then Pepper would be my number 1. But the fact that they are negated and not on it, Revolver by far is the greatest album that they have ever put together.
I even have it on 8-track.
How does that sound?
My first CD I bought was Sgt. Pepper in the long box with the cutouts.
It's one of those where you could debate it all day. Is it Sgt. Pepper? Is it the White Album? Is it Revolver? Is it Abbey Road? It could be any of these, and it's all of these at the same time. And that's what, to me, is the mark of a truly classic group. And we could have a discussion all day long about why the lightning in a bottle that was the Beatles will probably never happen again. This group, this album, this cemented it for me 100%. Is it strange? Sure. You have everything from Indian instrumentation to a song like When I'm 64 to what I thought as a young kid, I was listening to a live concert at the very beginning because you have the orchestra warming up, and then that song comes back at the end of the album, and I had never heard anything like this before, and then you end it with what is probably the magnum opus of Lennon-McCartney as a songwriting duo in A Day in the Life. I mean, it is hands down, in this guy's opinion, the best Beatles album ever made. And
You don't get to
definitely, I
Pepper
think,
without
deserves a
Revolver.
spot in the top 500.
Now, is there
Oh.
a copy that you're still looking for that you really desperately want from the Sgt. Peppers?
That I desperately want? I mean, not really. I look around. If I find one that I don't, I mean, I have Italy, Spain, Uruguay. I've got original UK's, original US pressings, colored pressings, Canada. Yeah, whatever pops up that I don't happen to have, yeah, I'll entertain the idea. But is there one that I'm just like, oh, I have to have it? Not really. It's just one of those. It's when we go to record shows, my wife, Retta, for those who watch us on Whatnot, if she sees me flipping through a Beatles bin and she sees this cover pop up, she already knows that there's about a 50% chance that we're about to spend some money. So it just works that way with me. It's an addiction. So
because there is one super pricey one, but it doesn't have the Beatles on it.
No, you're talking about so there's a couple of very, very expensive ones. There's the UHQR Mobile Fidelity pressing, which is about $600, $700. There's also the Nimbus pressing that was pressed for the Australian record show back in like 1982. That goes for about $3,000. Wow. And then there's also one, I forget the pressing company, but it's in the UK. That one's also about $3,000-$4,000.
That's the one that
pressing.
Like a magazine. They had exclusives because they have a lot of those. There was this one magazine that would have these exclusives.
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
I know if you go back and you watch, there's a YouTube channel. This guy Parlogram Auctions. Dude is like a Beatles encyclopedia, and he's got whole videos about Sgt. Pepper. Again, it's a rabbit hole I could go way, way, way down. So I don't want to take up a ton of time here talking about just one album, even though I feel like it deserves the whole 2 hours to itself.
Yeah.
We've got other stuff to get to.
There's also a version that the Capitol record execs made where they're on the cover.
Correct. That's alternate cover. Yeah.
And I've heard $100,000. Who knows what the real value is?
Because there's only about 25 of them in existence that I'm aware of. So yeah, it gets crazy, it gets out of hand. But
I'm just glad John and Jake don't have to fight because we're inclusive here at 3 Men on the Record. They're both in the 500. So
yeah, I
The
personally
deal is this: there's no Pepper without Revolver. Period.
There's no Revolver without Rubber Soul.
When I'm 64.
I'm not even sure.
Rubber Soul without
none of those without Love Me Do.
The best song on Pepper, I will agree.
In spite of all the danger, kicked it all off.
Right, and I do like the early Beatles a lot too. So, all right, so Gonzo, you're up next.
I really, really want to argue the hell out of this, but we got to move on.
Maybe you guys can have a debate, like a separate video, and put it on here.
If we can wear a suit and tie, I'm in. Go in full debate mode. Absolutely. I am down 100%. So I guess my number 3 album for tonight in my 500 essentials. It's no surprise to those that know me and know me very well. It is a phenomenal album. Some people tend to say it's one of the very first albums that really doesn't have a lot of guitar instrumentation in it, although I think there is some slight guitar in it, but originally they did not want any and all. And that would be Gary Wright's masterpiece, The Dreamweaver, which was released in 1975. Yeah, let's get that confetti. This is a 75 US original in the shrink with the hype sticker that just simply says, "Love is alive." I mean, it hits you hard. Coming in just under 38 minutes. It had 2 singles that spawned off this. But if you've never listened to the record, and I'm sure a lot of people see it in a record store and they think, Dreamweaver, and they just move forward. They don't buy the record. They don't give it a chance. But it's probably one of the greatest albums. In my opinion, it's definitely within the top 500 because during this time frame, not really hearing a whole hell of a lot of albums that really didn't have a lot of guitars on it, which this one was one. The cool thing about Gary Wright, too, is there are a lot of Beatles connections because the Dreamweaver song originally came through John Lennon. He played a lot with George Harrison as well. So Gary Wright, there were, connections to the Beatles. For those of you who aren't familiar with Gary Wright, he was in bands prior to going solo. He was in a band called Spooky Tooth. So, he's not just known for this particular record, but this was the album, I think, that really kind of put him out in the limelight, right? In the spotlight. And yeah, Dreamweaver, that peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. And then Love Is Alive, which is the opening track on side 1, that also peaked at number 2. This did put him on the map with regards to quote unquote soft rock and progressive rock genres. But this album also, y'all, is kind of a journey in a way. If you listen it from start to finish, the whole album, in my opinion, there's nothing weak per se about it. It did sell over time, over a million copies. It did not sell well in the very beginning when it was initially released. It fared actually really, really slow. It took time to build off those 2 singles. Love Is Alive is probably, in my opinion, I talked to Scott about this. We had a conversation and we were like, we should talk about albums that open up, amazing albums with amazing opening tracks. And I think the first record I told him was, well, I'm going to go Gary Wright, Dreamweaver, Love Is Alive, because it opens up the thing. And again, it takes you on a journey. So this is an album that, for those of you that come into my shows, when I have a lot of copies, I tend to, give these away because it's a record that I think people should have. You should give it a listen to. When I was a teenager, my last name is Weaver. So I'm kind of attached and connected to the damn record because the nicknames I got my whole life were usually Leave It to Weaver or Dreamweaver. And so I basically came to this record really because of my last name. So my whole thing was, I don't understand the nickname. I was probably 14 or 15. And then my older brother was like, it's a song, dunce. So I was like, well, I need to hear the song. And I thought it was the worst sounding thing as a 14-year-old kid. Like, this song is ridiculous. We will never listen to it again. And as my palate improved over the years, it's one of my favorite damn albums that I've ever listened to. So it will be attached to me for the remainder of my life. It will probably go in the coffin with me. And when someone reads a eulogy, someone probably will yell out, Dreamweaver, and I will roll over in my grave with a roll of the eyes. But get it, listen to it. I promise you, you will enjoy the record from start to finish.
Yeah, this is one of our bonding moments, like when we both figured out we like Dreamweaver, because it is one of those records everybody goes, I think like $3 at my record store. Pick it up. It's fantastic.
So I don't know if Dev is still here, but Dev called me up one day and he's like, hey, I'm here at the store. You want me to look for anything? And I'm like, how many Gary Wright Dreamweavers? And he's like, oh man, there's at least 7 or 8 of them. I wish I had the photo to show you. He had a picture that he took that he just kind of like fanned out like a hand of poker. And I had him tell me the condition of every album, and I bought every single one of them that, were in decent shape. He's here.
Yeah,
he came across the Dreamweaver, like the mecca of Dreamweavers in that store. I'd never seen so many copies. This one that I showed you guys, I want to give Tom some love because this one came from Toothpaste King. This came from Tom. He reached out to me and he said, hey man, I just found one in the shrink with a hype stick. And I just went, Bennett, I'm in it. And Sgt. Pepper's 3,000 times better than this album, but this is one of those records when I go to a record store and I see it, I'm inclined to buy the damn
I
thing.
got you a signed copy. Where's that?
No, that was that was not a real. That couldn't have been a real. Look,
It's a
for
real
those
signature.
who want a little, so Sean found an autographed copy. He came across several records that were autographed, and apparently this gentleman who got these autographs would bring the records. He would have them sign a piece of like notepad paper. He would rip that off and tape it to
Well,
the
he
album.
had records signed. That one he just hadn't. He didn't have the record when they signed it. And the thing is, he had them signed, and they were like beat up records. So I have an Ambrosia record signed by the whole band, but it's well worn. It was the same collection. That's a real autograph.
What is that? Shark Crossing Vinyls special autographed records.
Yeah,
we had a good laugh about it. We laughed about it for a while. We're like, look at this autograph. Like, I was embarrassed at first to show it, and then it was like, you know what? I can't not show it. I've got to show it.
It was genuine. Well, as far as I know, it was genuine. But
yeah, I'd love someone to be
nobody
like,
counterfeits Gary Wright. No one on Earth would counterfeit Gary Wright.
I would love to take that and have someone, look at this and be like, I guess we're going to get a certificate of authenticity on this yellow piece of paper.
On a $5,
like, I couldn't
record.
stand in line with my hard-earned money being like, could you authenticate this, please?
Even though we're like 50 some in to, or 60 in on the 500, I'm going to say there will not be a cheaper acquisition on the list of 500 than being able to pick up a copy of Dreamweaver. Nobody has an excuse. Drop by Gonzo's show. He'll probably run it for $1.
If I have them, and look, I will go tomorrow because I have a show in the morning. I can't do it obviously tonight, but after my show tomorrow, I will go and I'll try to find a few, and we'll do some Dreamweaver giveaways.
There you go. To honor its inclusion in the 500. So
absolutely. It deserves it. Johnny, quit crying over there. Dry those eyes.
I'm just leave it to Weaver. I mean, I'm so glad I have that in my arsenal now.
And we got AI working on Jake Weaver, the alternative Dreamweaver lyrics.
That'd be cool.
It's going to be classic.
That, and then walking into a room in your basket, like, you're going in getting ready for a game, and you're late, and you walk in, and your whole team goes, Dreamweaver. What do you think of that? And you just got to sit there and shrug it.
I'm wondering why you were late, letting everybody down.
Yeah.
Let's just say I was fashionably late.
He likes the dramatic entrance.
Because I had a big helmet fro. Had to make sure the hair was perfect when I had it.
All right. So I'm next, I think. I kind of lost track, but I think I'm next.
Yeah.
And this one, I am so proud and so happy to present this one, because this one, to me, and to a lot of people, is probably the greatest rock album of all time. Came out in 1987. So anyone have an idea? The greatest rock album that came out in 1987? I've had it on CD. I've had it on record. I've had it on cassette. I've had it. Whatever it came on, I've had it. And the cover has gone through a couple. Well, we're talking about Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. You kind of know it as this, but it started off as this. I was doing some research. Of course, that's what we do when we're doing this. And so when they were creating this album, Axl Rose had a great idea of, this was 1987, a year after the Challenger explosion. He wanted to put the Challenger explosion on the cover. And the record exec's like, no, that's just, first of all, it's only a year later, and it's just very distasteful, kind of. And so Axl, very upset, and he wasn't happy with that because he's Axl, and he was somewhere and he found a book. He found a book from an artist, and his name is Robert Williams. Robert Williams. It was The book's name was, I just lost it. The Lowbrow Art of Robert Williams. He is the father of exponential imagination. So if you look at this cover, exponential imagination, you kind of understand what that genre is. So he convinced the record execs, he convinced them to go from that to this. And if you really look at this, it's basically a rape scene from Robots, basically. But it's more about, I don't know, existential, the world the way it is and whatever. But they agreed to this, and they shipped it out. All the big stores that carry these records, they open up the box, and they're like, "No way, we're not putting these out. We are not putting these out." So again, controversy. We've been talking every week. I have one album that controversy. What happens with controversy? What happens with record? People buy more. They buy it. So they had to scramble to figure out what they're doing next. So the OG, this copy originally came with a fake tattoo that you would put on your arm, and it was of a tattoo that Axl has. So they scrambled to come up with an actual. This is an actual tattoo that Axl has. They redid it a little bit to make it more like an album cover than a tattoo, and luckily the band members didn't change, especially at the beginning, because Axl put these guys on his arm. And that's what they went with for the actual cover. So out there, this one does not have the tattoo, but if you're looking, the tattoo really makes it the complete set. You did get on the inside this picture, but because they didn't want to sell it, they had to do this. But luckily, it came out. We all bought it. I bought it so many times, it's not even funny. It came out July 21st, 1987, on Geffen Records, and Mike Klink was the producer. It sold 18 million copies in the U.S. and worldwide 30 million, and it still sells today. The singles, and this is where I love the singles. We had "Welcome to the Jungle," "Sweet Child of Mine," "Paradise City." They played these things to death on MTV. Oh my God. Could they not play them every half hour? Paradise City was on. It was crazy. But the great thing about this album is I love all the other songs on this album. Mr. Brownstone is amazing. The little wouldn't do so little got more and more. I'm just trying to get a little better than before. Just Night Train. That one actually charted. Night Train peaked at 42. But the album was number one, obviously, in the Billboard 200. This to me is the last stand of rock and roll on MTV before we hit just think when this came out, what did MTV start taking over? What took over MTV at that point? You had New Kids on the Block, you had Bobby Brown, Paula Abdul, you had all this dance music, and you lost rock and roll was gone. And until Nirvana came on, MTV was these guys would every Total Request Live for weeks. They would just keep requesting these. The Guns N' Roses, and that's only why they were still around, was people kept requesting them. But it was all dance music, and we lost rock and roll at that point. Kind of just pop took over, and this was rock's last stand, really, for me. Like on MTV, and then the music scene changed a lot for several years, and then luckily, Smells Like Teen Spirit came on, and we got grunge and all that stuff back. But this was the last huge rock and roll album, and there's so much to say. I mean, I could go on forever, so I'm not. But if you don't have this in your collection, give it a listen. But again, Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise, like the beginning of Sweet Child of Mine, who could play that when they were younger on guitar? I could. That's the only
Air
thing I could
guitar.
do was play the beginning.
Air guitar.
That's it. No, like I could actually play that on a guitar. But that's it. That's all I could play on a guitar. But I was so proud that I could play the beginning of Sweet Child of Mine, at least the first 10 seconds of it.
You know what Axl Rose's inspiration was for that album originally, don't you? You know what
Cocaine?
inspired him?
What's that?
Gary Wright's Dream Weaver was the inspiration
I thought he was going to say the run.
to Appetite for Destruction. It makes sense, Sean.
But I'm just amazed this band came together because there was different incarnations in the LA scene. They were huge. They had a huge following. Band members would drop off. Right before they did the Troubadour, Slash was not in the band. I think he had appeared every once in a while, but they had to convince him to do the Troubadour and then go on tour in the Northwest. And they had 1 day practice, and they did the Troubadour. There's live bootlegs out there. Take a listen.
Was it Tracy
they had
Guns?
to pry him
the
away
original
from another
guitarist?
band, and also he was working at Tower Video. So he had to choose with that local band he was going to just joined, or to go with them. So they pulled him away from Tower Video. Thank goodness, and we get Guns N' Roses.
I honestly
Actually,
think
Zach,
that we
no, Dream Weaver inspired Sergeant Pepper from the future. Let's get it.
The Hot
let's
Tub
get it
Time
right.
Machine.
Yeah. You're having the
Alright.
conversation about albums that have the best openers, and I think that this album
Yes.
falls firmly into that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even though it is overplayed, Sean, I will give you that. That song, just the way it builds up, is the perfect opener for this.
Because it has that scream thing you like, but it's kind of a little bit further back though.
You know, I will say
So
this
awesome.
because, you know, Guns N' Roses really, if you think about it, in their height, it really was 87 to 91.
Mhm.
After Use
short
Your Illusion
window.
1 and 2. And that's kind of the thing. Did grunge really affect the trajectory of where Guns N' Roses could have gone?
No,
like a
they
lot of
did
the
that
other
to
bands.
themselves.
I think
They
Guns
did
N'
it to-
Roses affected their own trajectory.
Well, I think Axl probably,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
a
they're
very
doing a
unique
concert
fellow.
that starts at 8 and he shows up on stage at 11. Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not good business right there. There is rumors that they have material ready to go for a new album. Slash kind of slipped out that, and well, he said, but you know how the band is, and we'll see what happens.
Well, my little piece of this album was when I was in basic training in '88, early '88. This was the only cassette somebody had snuck it in, so that's all we listened to in the barracks. You know, in your basic training, you can't go anywhere. You know, and it was like, so by the time 8 weeks later, I knew every song, every lyric. You know, and I thought it was an amazing record. It's like you know, if you took like Faster Pussycat or TNT, some of the bands that came later, I think there were a lot of bands like that around the Hollywood Strip. But these guys the sound was on steroids, and it was much more serious. And I don't think anybody
it was
matched
heroin.
them.
Because they advance. One of the guys, Slash's friends, his best friend for most of his life, he said most of the advance money that he got was spent on heroin.
Goes to show how influential Gary Wright was. I mean, come on.
Whatever.
All right. So that's our top albums that we think you must own this week. Make sure
I
you
do
guys
have to say,
comment
I see
in
in
the
the
notes,
chat.
also our Discord.
Yeah.
I'll provide the link to that later on tonight. But join our Discord, get in the conversation. If there's songs that you think albums that you think should be on here, let us know. Because again, you don't know what you don't know, and music, there's so much that none of us know. There's a lot we know, but there's so much we don't. And maybe you have some kind of a gem that they're like, holy crap, how did we not listen to this record before? Let us know. So maybe we'll include it in here. Maybe we'll have you come on and tell us about it.
There you go. I do see in the chat someone dropped Live Throwing Copper. Guess what year that came from?
1987.
1994.
1994.
Yeah, that was a good year for music. Sean, just to let everybody know, if you're in the Discord server, you will see a link. I put in under the 500, I put a new message and I pinned it, and it is a link to a Google document that has every album we've talked about so far. It didn't have this week's because I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I will add that. So that's where we'll keep that for now. Somebody had a request about, would you say, you know, what songs you recommend? We can go back and do that. that would be pretty simple because I think every album we pick, all of us have a special attachment to that album or feel strongly about it. So,
Dev, there was some great music in the 80s. There was some great stuff that came out. 86 was a huge year for music.
Oh yeah,
that was a very big year. 87, big year. I mean, there was some good stuff.
Well, Hairband had to die. I mean, that was getting a little repetitive and
a little bit.
Yeah. So
that's why you got to get the album that
unless you have Steel Panther.
This one. That's all the favorite metal bands you ever needed in one, but add like Andrew Dice Clay to it, kind of just dirty to it. Also,
it is.
But yeah, it's a great throwback to hair metal, but it's kicked up a notch, and they're touring, so you get to see them live if you check your local listings. All right,
can't wait.
We're at the next point of our show where Gonzo challenges Scott into picking his favorite album out of 5. The first week was a travesty because Van Halen, he was
every week has been horrific. This week will be horrific.
So we're gonna see what he shows. We'll show, but the last one was Bob Dylan albums, and I guess I didn't have a problem with the Bob Dylan one so much. Of course, I don't know that much about Bob Dylan's other albums, but what do you have this week for us, Scott?
Well, Jake threw it out in last week's episode. And so, Jake, you're going to have to announce what next one's going to be. So by the time I get done with Rolling Stones, you're going to have to talk about it. So he picked the Rolling Stones.
At some point.
So, which I feel like 180 degrees different about the Stones versus trying to do the Dylan. So, Jake said, let's do the Stones. Another artist that has a lot of albums, but I literally, even though we're going to use a PowerPoint, this is just a small, I have everything, like all on CD. I think I have 45 or 50 Stones albums. So one of the groups that my favorite rock band. So I can do this. And this week it's going to be like getting the answers to the test because these are 100% correct and nobody will disagree. Not even Jake. He's going to love it.
This week I might actually agree with you because my favorite period of Stones music, right? So I think what you're going to end up pulling out is exactly what I've got in mind. So we might agree this week.
Yeah, well, let's see. Let's get on with it. Sean, you have to fix the boxes after I open the PowerPoint. All right. So we're going to kick it off with number 5. This is probably the biggest surprise, the only surprise I really think I have in here. Number 5 is this record, Steel Wheels, 1989. And why this record? When you like read people's top 5, there's all kinds of Stones top 10. There's a list out there where people rank
at some point.
They rank all the albums, and they are not fair to the more modern records. Like anything after the 70s, they just poo-poo it, and that's not fair. And this is the record from the latter time. This is the last great record they've did, but they did a couple good ones after this. This record is fantastic. Leading up to this period, Keith and Mick were not getting along real well. Matter of fact, the album Dirty Work is basically a Richard solo record that Jagger came in and sang on. He was just not in the studio for that record. I like that record. I think it's a good record personally, but I'm a Keith Richards fan, so I'm going to like those Richards riffs. But here they went through it. They got back together. They reconciled. The song "Mixed Emotions" is about that experience. Another killer song on this one, "Rockin' a Hard Place." But what stands out, the album cuts are really strong. "Hearts for Sale," great traditional Stones kind of bluesy song. "Almost Here You Sigh" is one of the best ballady slow songs that the Stones have done. It's no Wild Horses, but it's good. Really enjoyable album. Don't sleep on this album. Really strong. I think they were at their, 25 years in, they had a re-peak and were re-energized. All right, that's that one. Can I turn this? Yeah, here we go. Number 4. Some Girls. Another great record here. Got these. So maybe the record would have made it just because Misty was on here. I think that's one of the best Stone songs there is. But it also has Beast of Burden, Respectable, good album cuts on this. Shattered is on this. So really, really strong record. So that's 1978.
You see, that's all. So we're trending in the right direction because my shot is 69 to 78.
Let It Bleed, number 3. Really great. This starts off with talking about great opening tracks. Give Me Shelter. With
Absolutely.
That sound of the way the song comes in. That's a pretty cool way to lead off an album. Love in Vain, Country Honk, which is a earlier version of like Honky Tonk Woman. Those songs split at some point. They started out as the same song, but Live With Me, great song. Let It Bleed. Oh, fantastic song. What's on the second side here? Midnight Rambler, and it ends with You Can't Always Get What You Want. That's the album closer. Extremely strong record. I really thought this is, I put this number 3. It could have been 2. It was a real toss up for 2. So Let It Bleed. 2 I have as XL Main
Well, I know what number 1 is.
So this has obviously Tumbling Dice on it, which is one of the best Stone songs ever. My criticism with this, and apparently they recorded this in a French chateau or something, and they were pretty messed up. Drugs.
They were doing that to avoid. They were like avoiding taxes. Correct? Is that the whole?
Yeah, it was. They were on the French Riviera, and they were. I find it hard to believe that the French were easier on taxes than the British, but somehow that was called a tax haven. And
the British have a history of taxation.
Yeah, so I heard. But my one. This has great songs, and this is Let It Bleed's a single album. This is a double album, probably pound for pound if you cut it down to a single album. Maybe, and that's why I gave that the nod to Exile, because the good songs are probably just a little bit better on it. So that's my number 2, and it's a miracle they produced such a good album, and the state they were in. They were not getting along, and drugs were a major problem.
Can I just go ahead and just guess what number 1 is?
You can guess, yes.
I'm going to go ahead and make a call right now and say number 1 Stones record he's about to pull, and I actually concur with him, is Sticky Fingers.
Number 1 record is Sticky Fingers.
Let's go!
You should have said no just to see what his reaction was. Leave it to Weaver.
Well,
it would have been great if he would have been like the number 1 Rolling Stones record is 1975's Dreamweaver, the Rolling Stones version.
So here we go. Sticky Fingers. So I had the good fortune that my wife actually, on her way back from Columbus, I think, I convinced her to let's listen to the whole album, because I had talked about it on the show, and I think she concurred. She realized, the Stones do have a great album. I mean, there is not a bad song on Sticky Fingers. Like, I don't even think any of the other records are close. They're not in the same zip code. These are great records. This is one of the greatest records of all time.
Such a good song, Janet. I agree.
Yeah, Can You Hear Me Knocking, Sway. So that's what makes this album special. My good friend Stacy said the thing about the Stones albums is their singles are their best songs. And I would say almost, Padawan, almost. But not this record. The album tracks are amazing on this. And of course it has the song, the big hits, Brown Sugar and Bitch on it, but great record. I love the last song. No, I can't remember the name of it. Well, here they are. Wild Horses is on here. So you've got, here's the way this album goes. Brown Sugar, classic. Can You Hear Me Knocking, amazing song. Sway, amazing song. Wild Horses, probably the most beautiful ballad, slow song Stones did. You Gotta Move, bluesy. Bitch, maybe my favorite Stone song. Dead Flowers, great country, their interpretation of country, American country. I Got the Blues, another. Sister Morphine, another kind of slow song. And then it ends with Moonlight Mao, and you think, oh, that'll probably be a clunker. No, it explodes into these strings, and it's beautiful. So
start to finish. I mean, look, Scott, we discussed this. Sticky Fingers is up there, in my opinion. I think you agree. Probably one of the greatest albums of all time, ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Up there with Fleetwood Mac Rumors, with Sgt. Pepper, with Revolver.
If I'm doing the list, it's going to be in the top 10. I mean, there's some great albums, Rumors, and some other stuff, but it's going to be in the discussion for the greatest album of all time.
That is correct.
And
Janet.
I would. Yep. Andy Warhol design cover, and this is what you need. This little Lexan strip here to keep that zipper from cutting into the record next to it. Let me put that back in there so I don't do that. So, I mean, that's my Stones. I do have honorable mention. I did want to cover some other ones. So I threw in Beggar's Banquet. I like the OG cover on the Beggar's Banquet. I think it's more Rolling Stone-ish.
So I thought Tattoo You would have been number 5. I thought.
Well, Tattoo You, the problem is the good songs are really strong. Start Me Up is on there. Waiting on a Friend, and She's Too Cold. One of those songs like that. She's So Hot, maybe. But the album cuts are weak on it because it is a leftovers album. They didn't really get back together. They had material left over from the previous album. I find that hard to believe because how do you do an album and you have Start Me Up and it's not on that album? It gets left on the cutting room floor. That's amazing. But then I did throw in Dirty Work, which is basically a Keith Richards album because I like every song on Dirty Work. It does have a little of the 80s sound, but One Hit to the Body was the big song, and Harlem Shuffle were the songs on this one. But as an album, I think it's one of their better albums. And then Goat Head Soup. But I don't know that I would classify any of these as great. They're good. They're not great.
I just want to talk about this and throw it out there because I know a lot of people in here probably haven't listened to it, but you should. Is Keith Richards' Talk is Cheap? If you haven't listened to this album, please listen to it. It is such a good one.
If you listen to the Keith Richards solo, you start to realize how big a part of the Stones sound
comes from him.
Is Keith Richards. Yeah. So I love my friend Stacy, but I think she was a little bit wrong on the Stones, but there's a lot to digest out there. So, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Let It Bleed. Just listen to those 3 albums, and I think you'll start to understand the greatness of the Stones. The Stones weren't like the Beatles. They didn't stop making albums after, maybe if they walked away after they did Some Girls, maybe they'd be viewed differently. They kept going,
Well, you can't. We talked about this, right? And Johnny's here too, right? So Johnny could get in this as well. You can't look the who's better, Beatles or Stones. It's not a conference. It's not up for discussion because they're two totally different bands. Yeah. They bring a totally different element to the game.
That's why you get both of them on the same record.
You could.
Oh my God!
But you can't compare them. There's no comparison. The Stones.
Well, and that's the way
band.
I lean. Like
I
respect and like the Beatles, but I'm a rock guitar guy, and I guess I really like the blues feel, the blues rock feel, and the Stones that's what they are.
Honky Tonk Woman through and through.
Yeah, Tumbling Dice. Those songs are amazing.
Hey Ed, how you doing? All right, so this is where we get to although we can still talk about the Stones, but this is if you guys have any questions, this is the time. And then Ed, we're going to be doing live albums separate. Like this 500 is not going to have live compilations or soundtracks. So we will be exploring those things in the future.
Yes.
What's your least favorite Stones record?
Mine?
I will tell you this. Hackney Diamonds isn't terrible.
No, it's not bad.
I
thought it was fun.
honestly, I bought it and was like, you know what? This is probably going to sound just horrific. And I put it on and I'm like,
Oh,
this isn't bad.
And they have more
I know.
variants than Taylor Swift does.
it's Emotional Rescue is the worst album.
You think that's their worst?
Yeah. Too much. I mean, the big hit was Emotional Rescue, which is like, them and Kiss for some reason thought they needed to do disco songs in the 70s. So
That's what was in.
yeah, but they're
It's
Kiss
not
and
first
Rolling
one.
Stones. They don't have to do that. They just do AC/DC. AC/DC does one style, AC/DC style, regardless of what's hot.
But Hackney Diamonds had more variants than Taylor. So I apologize to Taylor Swift because Hackney Diamonds, they had every baseball team, did they not?
Yes, they
They had
did.
a zoetrope. They had different variations. More than Taylor Swift because there's more than, I don't even remember how many teams are in baseball now.
So-
But
I do want to say this because you were mentioning the disco stuff. Paul McCartney didn't go kind of disco-y. Don't Say It is kind of a disco-y killer bass riff, but kind of disco. I mean, everybody
Coming up was
Co-
disco.
Coming up, that's exactly what I was thinking,
Yeah.
John.
Coming up, also, yeah,
100% disco.
Yeah,
Coming
dude.
up. I mean, come on.
like a flower.
You got to retract that statement, Jake. Coming up is disco.
so
It is, but so is Don't Say It. I mean, everybody was coming out with some.
yeah, if I had to listen to a
some sort of
Day in
disco.
Life, I think would
Hold
be the
up.
one song for me.
Think of
Yeah, but 4 albums in a year. Okay, hold on. I'm commenting on a comment over here.
you don't
4
think
albums
Another
in 1
Brick in the
year.
Wall is got a disco
what?
kind of bass beat to it?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, it does.
But there were 4 different ones.
Go look up mashups on YouTube. YouTube's a great place to find videos. They do mashups, and I want to say I've actually heard a almost like disco version of Another Brick in the Wall. I think it might have actually been mixed with the Bee Gees.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
it
they
fits so perfectly.
No.
No, because
Some,
you were
hey,
talking.
listen, some disco's awesome.
So Sean, you were talking about variants. And there's a comment about the Beatles having 4 albums in a year. That's not variants. That's actual like albums.
Yes,
That's not like 30 versions of what. And trust me, I'll be the first to admit that. Oh, it is definitely 4 a.m. vibes over here. I'll be the first to admit that Paul McCartney definitely abused the variants thing a couple years ago with that freaking McCartney 3
McCartney
album.
3.
Yeah.
775 variants.
And then 3 years later is like, we're just going to re-release it and have like 8 more variants.
Stacy.
So yeah, all artists, of the modern era are abusing the variants thing 100%. So
You know what album
but,
deserves multiple variants? Dreamweaver.
I'm starting to
Where are
rue
the
the fact
variants on that?
that we included that now.
I want a Dreamweaver variant with my face on it. Last
I gave
name's
you I
Weaver.
gave
It
you a
worked.
Dreamweaver variant. You've got the Japanese press promo.
I do have
Oh.
a Japanese press promo. It was a gift from you. Thank you very much. Go look on Discogs. Look at the price of a Japanese promo of Dreamweaver. Crazy.
I thought you got it free with a bowl of soup.
Maybe I did. Maybe I enjoyed that bowl of soup.
So I do see the question there too that's directed to like right at my face about if I could listen to only one Beatles song for the rest of my life, what would it be? I'll attempt to answer this, but then I'm actually going to pass it over to Scott since he just talked about all the Rolling Stones and what Rolling Stones song would you want to listen to for the rest of your life? This is a hard question
It's a tough one.
because any song you listen to for the rest of your life is going to drive you completely and certifiably insane. But I mean, I would probably have to say, and I guess, you're about to see Jake's head swell up because it's off of Revolver. I would say Eleanor Rigby. If I have to pick a song, it would probably be that one.
Yeah, but if it's
So-
only one song, you're probably alone on an island by yourself. So it's really depressing.
Well, there
I'm
you go.
thinking Obla Di,
If
Obla Da, or
If I'm taking a Beatles song, God, it's so hard because there's so many. It's going to be the song that
I'm
my
fixing a
daughter, I
hole.
took her to School of Rock today for her free lesson because she, sees my guitar around and I'm a great beginner. And she wants to get into music. And I didn't say anything to the music teacher. And I guess he asked her what she liked. And they came out and I waited in the lobby and I said, honey, what song did you play? And he looked and he said, well, she told me she's been a Beatles fan her whole life. I'm like, yep, we put buds on my wife's, stomach, and we would blast Beatles music when, my daughter was in the womb. And the song that they did was Come Together. Come Together might be, for me, at least right now. It could change daily. Because there's so many greats. It's such a hard question to answer. It's like, if you're on an island, what are the 5 albums that you take? If I had a song that I had to pick right now, probably Comfortably Numb. I never get tired of the song. I never get tired of the 2 greatest guitar solos ever.
When did the Beatles cut that?
Gary Wright actually covered that in 1979, the original.
Now, a Beatles song, the rest of my life, I'm gonna joke and say "Let It Be" because if you go see Paul McCartney sing it, it never ends. Or "Hey Jude," "Hey Jude," or "Let It Be." "Day in the Life." It has so much variance. I think I would do "Day in the Life." But
Day in
Paul
the
could
Life
just
is
sing
great.
"Let It Be" for days.
There's no wrong answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
"Love Me Do."
Let me do.
Love me do. You know I love you. So
You're
please
drive you insane.
Oh
love
my
me
God. Yeah,
do.
I'd be
so
trying
good.
to kill myself.
Early, I love
So
early
Scott,
Beatles
you
too.
can go Beatles or Stones. Which one is easier for you to pick?
I'll go Stones. I won't say it's my best song, but it's in my top 5. I'm just trying to think of a song to listen to the rest of my life, and I probably have to gear it down to Tumbling Dice. I don't think I could do Heartbreaker or Bitch for multiple listens. This horns would probably drive me insane after a while. But anyway, I mean, that's the thing about music. We don't have to pick. Hopefully, we'll never be in this situation.
So you guys have any questions for us?
Let's go, chat.
Come on, guys. You got any questions?
Come on, chat. Let's get involved, chat.
You don't have
Come
to.
on, chat.
But if you do have a question, in my life's a
Great
great
song,
My
Jeremy.
Life is a good one.
Yeah,
Good choice, brother.
It's too short though.
I think A Day in a Life on the Beatles. That's a great choice. I think that is a
Revolution 9. That's the correct
Number
answer.
9?
We're all wrong.
Number 9?
It's
How
Revolution
about
9.
You Know My Name? Look up the number.
Johnny, I
That's
love
a
that song.
fantastic song. That
You
might
Know
be
My
the
Name
most
is the
underrated
greatest
Beatles
My
song.
Name.
And that song is the reason I trashed the White Album.
Why?
Revolution 9? Yeah. I mean, it's half of a side, so
Yeah. All right. So while let's
Janet, I could answer that. What got Johnny into whatnot? That would be me. I helped.
Leave it to
it was
Weaver.
Gary Wright.
Big influence. Pat myself on the back on that.
I think the first time I really met Johnny was when he was doing his 3-hour McCartney singles show.
Yeah.
That was like 2 8-hour days.
I honestly think what got me into Whatnot was the same thing that probably got a lot of us into Whatnot, and that is the gateway drug of VC vinyl.
Yeah. That's what got me in.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's cheap records, really quick. Build your collection up, and then you're like, now I have to sell all this stuff, and so you become a seller. So that's unfortunately the answer that it's not the sexy answer, but it's the truth.
Janet, the cool thing was how I came into contact with Johnny was through Sean. I just happened to come into one of Sean's shows, and I was looking for some Ringo albums. And no one, no matter where I went, no one had any. And I just happened to go in his show, and Sean happened to have like 5. And I'm like, all right, hey, this is a cool place to hang.
They
Somebody
were
that actually
newer
likes
ones
what I
and
like.
rare.
And he was talking with he brought Jonny in, co-hosted with Jonny. And he was promoting a show because Jonny and Retta were about to get back into, I guess, before I'd come in, they were selling briefly, and there was an issue where they just weren't able to sell. And then they were announcing, hey, we're coming back. We got the shipping thing figured out. And it was a big Beatles show. And the three of us just hit it off. We just started talking a lot of Beatles.
Favorite solo Beatle?
McCartney
for me. I mean, I love Ringo, but McCartney.
I would say he's the best selling, but nothing beats All Things Must Pass. In my opinion.
I love the variety here because I have to go with the angst of John Lennon. I think Plastic Ono and Imagine are two of the best solo albums.
Yeah. I would say the best two, the top two would probably be, well, if I took four, let's just take four of all of them. Obviously, Harrison's All Things Must Pass, John Lennon's Imagine, Ringo Starr's Goodnight Vienna. Although I do love Bukus of Blues, it's just an amazing album. Sentimental value.
Self-Titled had all the hits on it. The Ringo album had like Photograph and It Don't Come Easy, all that stuff.
And then I would say it's a toss-up for me between McCartney, and Ram. Band on that
Ram
Wings,
for me.
Like I'm not going to count Wings; it's separate. But I'm probably going to say Ram.
I prefer Ram.
See, I would think I would like Lennon more if he just let Give Me Some Truth stay where it was and not put it anywhere. I would have been more happy with it. I hate that song.
I think they all put out a little bit of crap.
See, like if you watch Get Back, they have that song in Get Back.
Yes.
And he should have just left it there.
So I know a song that would definitely drive Jonny insane on an island if he had one song and we just said, sorry, Jonny, you can't choose. We're going to give it to you. And that's Paul McCartney's Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time.
I was just talking about this yesterday with my wife. Yes. Because we were like, our son was not aware. I mean, he was aware, but he didn't. I don't think he knew he was aware that the Beatles as solo artists had Christmas songs.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah. You have Happy Christmas, War is Over. And then you have this atrocious abomination from Paul McCartney. And I had to sing it to him. And he's like, oh, yeah, I do know that one.
It's pretty bad.
You never forget it. I mean, when it comes on, you're like, it's Paul, But are we simply having a wonderful Christmas time when it plays?
No.
It's almost that time of year, guys.
It is.
All right. Well, let's we're keeping track here, but I see somebody's in the chat. So let's talk about
Patterson.
Let's talk about what's coming up. So next week there will not be a show because I will actually be in Austin with Jake at the record convention. So we'll take a break on the 23rd, but when we come back on the 30th, we're coming back strong. Our guest panelists have just been outstanding. So we have Rush Records. Chris Patterson is going to join us for the show on October 30th. So,
which just so you know, October 30th is Mr. Patterson's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! So,
Well,
Chris,
yeah, he does need to be in costume. He's in costume about 50% of the time.
He's always in costume. He's looking around for his blue ox. Always.
And also, the way this unfolded, we've been trying to line up Jonny and Retta, and just the way their holiday schedule and everything's working out, it worked out like I was talking to him earlier in the week. I was like, could you do Thursday? And he said he thought about it for me because I could. And so thank you, Jonny. It's the middle of the night over there.
Thank you.
What a great member of the vinyl community. I'm glad he's been watching every video. He's commented on every video. So I'm so glad we had him on. He's a good friend of all of ours. And, just him and Red are terrific sellers on Whatnot.
He's definitely
this is good stuff. it's anytime that you can get people together, whether it's 4 people on the screen or everybody over in the chat, to sit around and just talk about music and what kind of makes us tick as people. This is great conversation to have, and it shows the diversity amongst, because we're all talking about, a minute ago we're all talking about the same thing, the Beatles, and how different all of the opinions were on the exact same thing. That's what makes this great, is having these kind of conversations. And it's why I'll continue to fight against the time zone difference and still watch all of these videos after you guys have done them. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to get invited back on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's it's really playing out the way when we got together. It was almost a year ago we started talking about doing this, and broadening the spirit in the community of Whatnot in the in the vinyl area was what we wanted to bring.
Gerald.
And we've got some, I don't want to step on any other guest, so we got some good stuff coming. We're lining them up, but we're so excited. Rush was one of the people that we said right out of the gate, we got to get Rush on. So I'm glad we got him lined up, and there'll be more coming. And I hope you guys are enjoying the guest panelist. Thanks to Stacy again last week. I got some great feedback on Stacy.
Yep.
Matter of fact, some suggestions that maybe me and Jake and Sean should leave and just have all guest panelists, and the show would probably get better. Probably a valid comment. So anyway.
I'm an idiot. We need a 4th.
Yeah, it brings we get in this routine of we do the show every week. So we got a cadence that we do, and it's easy to, having a guest panelist kind of spices it up every week. Somebody new's coming in. So we love that. We're going to do as much of that as we can. We will do, I think we have a compilation live show we're going to do in November. Yep. That will be just the 3 of us. We'll kick off that list, and then we'll get people to feed in on those too. So anyway, Sean, I'll turn it back to you as the MC and close us out.
All right. So that was another great night, guys. Thank you. Just this week, guys, we have the Breakfast Club. Jonny, are you on anytime soon? When are you on again?
We're gonna stream on Sunday, hoping to get a raid from Shark Crossing Vinyl again.
Sunday. Yeah, so we're all on this weekend. Gonzo's on tomorrow
morning.
Scott is on Saturday morning before he leaves for Austin. I am on Sunday morning as usual, and in the afternoon we have Jonny at channel 910, and probably at night, I know Best Coast usually does Sunday night, so maybe she'll be there. What else, guys? I think that's pretty much it, guys. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we pretty much had 20 people the whole night, which is
wonderful,
really nice. And share it with your friends. Just pass the word out, get the word out there that we're doing this, because we really like to get you guys. We'd like to, of course, we want to get more people, obviously. And through you guys, hopefully we can get some more people in, and let's grow this thing. Get on Discord. I don't have the link available right now, but while we're all live in our Whatnot streams, join our Discord and continue the conversation there. And also, what else we got?
I think what we should focus at some point, maybe it's this year, maybe you do it, Christmas festivities. But I definitely think there should be a 3 Men on the Record with a guest panelist karaoke night. I think each and every one of us needs to pick one song, and I think the chat deserves to hear 4 voices that are angelic in their own right.
I don't know if they're ready for that, Jake.
All right. Well, we'll see on that one. We'll see on that one. You never know. But we'll just leave it to Weaver and
Jonny and I are in. We'll bring it.
All right, guys. So thank you. Unless you guys have anything else to say, this concludes
Hanukkah 2
night of 3 Men on the Record.
Yep. Thank you, chat. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.